This conference will now be recorded.
So let's start about a new service that's called S3, a very important service. It's called Simple Storage Service, Amazon Simple Storage Service. So hence the name S3. So your Amazon S3 provides developers and IT teams with secure, durable, and highly scalable cloud storage. So it's an easy to use object storage with a simple web interface that you can use to store and retrieve any amount of data from anywhere on the web. So when we talk about object storage, we just need to know what are the different types of storage we have and how is actually the objects are stored, right? So let's quickly take a look at what are these object types, right? We have two types of storage. One is file storage, another one is object storage. So basically, the file storage is nothing but your in the Windows we have files. Go to File Explorer and you can see those files, right? Say for example, I wanted to place a.jpg in one of the my C drive. How we will do actually? So you create a folder called A, and inside that you create a folder called B, and inside that you create a folder called picture. Just logically, I'm just putting something, right? Picture, and inside that picture, you go ahead and store your a.jpg, right? This is what we normally do in our Windows, correct? So file storage has a hierarchical structure. So from outside, you will be able to see only the folder A, but only when you go inside B, and then you will be able to go inside picture, you will be able to see a.jpg. It's just like our file explorer. Just go to the file explorer. It's a normal file explorer that we normally we have desktop. So inside desktop we have something, right? So it's all like this, right? So this is how your file storage. Whereas coming to your object storage, right? Object storage is the same picture or the same thing that if you are planning to do in the object storage, it will be stored everything in the same level, like a/b/picture/, right? a.jpg. So your object storage, everything is on the same layer. There is no any hierarchical relationship, nothing. They're all stored as a in the flat in single layer. So that's why they're all called object storage. And S3 is an object storage. Okay. So S3 allows you to pay only for the storage that you actually use, which eliminates the capacity planning and capacity constraints associated with traditional storage. Suppose you want to store of 5 GB, you just pay only for that 5 GB. Okay, and also there is it keeps growing. There's an unlimited. You don't have to purchase a capacity upfront, right? Saying I need to store my files for say 50 GB. You don't have to say all these things. You can keep storing it and pay for whatever that you store. So S3 is one of the first services that was introduced by AWS. When they started the business, they started off with S3 only. They started giving the service only on S3, and it serves as one of the foundational web services. And one thing you need to keep in mind, all the applications that are using, all the services or applications that use storage in S3 is storage in AWS directly or indirectly uses S3. Okay, so in fact, even the default services or the internal storage which are used by AWS, it uses S3 to store all its data. So this is a one of the key important service that we need to know. So S3 is a safe place to store all our data because they are all encrypted. We'll talk about encryption. It is object based, so there is no big hierarchy, but still only the UI will show you like folder, but we will see how that gets stored. The data is spread across multiple devices and facilities. So when you upload a document here, by default, it will get replicated to two different availability zones so that the availability is there always for you and your data is available whenever you need it, right? Okay. So some of the basics that you need to know for S3. S3 is object based. S3 is object based, so it allows you to upload files. So when we talk about objects, it can be any type of files or any files. Okay, it can be a JPEG, it can be an MP3, MP4, a log file, a configuration file, any file for that matter is called an object. Anything is that you can store is an object. So a single object can be from 0 byte to maximum 5 TB, a single object. One single file can be maximum up to 5 TB, which is a very huge file. We cannot even replicate this, right? And there is unlimited storage. That means that you can keep storing as much as you want. There is no any limit to the storage, but there is a cap, maximum cap for a single file. A single file cannot exceed 5 TB, and you pay only for the GBs that we have used. Files are stored in a place called buckets, like just like think of that as a directory, and they call here as buckets. Okay, and so S3 allows people to store objects and files in buckets. Think of this as a directory. Buckets must have a globally unique name, and this particular S3 service is a global service. Okay, so we know there are two services. EC2 was a regional service, and this one is a global service. So that is why bucket must have a unique name. So no two buckets can have the same name in the world. Buckets are defined at the region level. Even though it's a global service, you can still have your bucket placed in different regions. Some of the naming convention for your bucket, there should be no uppercase, no underscores. The character should be 3 to 63 characters long. It cannot be an IP type like 1.2.3.4. It must always start with a lowercase or a number. So there are some naming convention rules that you need to follow while creating a bucket. So what are stored inside the bucket? These are the objects that we get stored. So objects have a key and a value. Key and a value. Key is nothing but the name of your file is the key or the full path to your this one. Suppose I say my bucket slash my file.txt is the key, whereas the value is actual content of the file. Value is actual content of the file. There is no concept called directories within buckets, although in the UI it will show you like folders, but they are not folders as such, right? They're all in the same level, and they are nothing but the keys with a very long name that contains slashes. They are called prefixes. Object values are the contents of the body. So key is your file name and value is your content, actual content. So maximum size of a file can be up to 5 TB. If you are uploading more than 100 MB, AWS recommends to use multi-part upload. This multi-part upload is nothing but is equivalent to your BitTorrent. I hope you guys have used the BitTorrent. So whenever you download a very big movie file, it breaks down that file into small bytes or small chunks, and it will start downloading those things, right? And then it will merge it into a single file. Similarly, multi-part upload will break your large files into small files. It will upload the small chunks of the file, and then finally, when you are uploading the last piece, it will go and kind of merge everything and create one single file. And your multi-part upload will be used whenever you are having files more than 100 MB. And the advantage here is, even if something happens in the middle, suppose there are 5 parts that you have created, 4 parts have uploaded, suddenly a power gone or some issue, when the power comes back, you will again resume from the 4th one, just like our torrent, right? And we have metadata. We have metadata, a user-defined metadata and a system-defined metadata. The metadata are nothing but list of key value pairs. It can be either system or user metadata. For example, owner of this bucket is the key, and value will be the actual value that you give there, right? Your account ID or your account name, account alias, right? Those are all the metadata. And we have tags, just like other resources. We have tags. They are also up to key value pairs, up to 10 you can have, and they are very useful for when we talk about lifecycle and stuff. But tags are optional as per AWS, and your company will enforce the tagging for it's better management, right? Better management of the resources. Then you also have an option to enable the version in the bucket. You can enable the version, and once you enable the version, the same object can be uploaded multiple times, and each and every time you upload, a new version is maintained. But keep in mind, if you are uploading a 1 GB of data and you are enabling the version and uploading the same object again, the charges will be for 2 GB, not for 1 GB, right? Because physically they are two documents, right? And virtually they are only one. Okay, so that way it will be charged for both. Okay, so let's first go and see how to create bucket, and let's see that concept, right? And we'll upload something and see how the object is getting stored. So S3 bucket, you wanted to go to the services. It is under storage. It is under storage. When you click on storage, you see here S3 scalable storage in the cloud. This is the one. So click on this one. See here, as soon as I click, it changes to global because S3 is a global service. Let's go and create a bucket. Bucket names must be unique. You can click on this link, the one that we talked about now, right? So what are the following rules apply for naming the bucket? The name must be between 3 and 63 characters long. The bucket name can consist only of lowercase numbers, dots and hyphens. Bucket names must begin and end with a letter or a number. Bucket name must not contain two adjacent periods. Like you cannot say a dot dot, right? You can only have one dot. Bucket names must not be formatted as an IP text, like for example 1.2.3.4, right? Bucket names must not start with the prefix xn hyphen hyphen, okay? Because this xn hyphen hyphen is being used somewhere in their internal process, so you cannot use this. Bucket names must not end with the suffix hyphen s3 alias. It cannot end here also, because this suffix is reserved for access point alias names, so they have reserved for this. Bucket names must be unique across all accounts in the AWS regions within a partition. A partition is a grouping of regions. AWS currently has 3 partitions: AWS standard region, China region, and government cloud region, right? So we are all operating in the standard region. So within the standard region, it should be unique. We don't have access to the China region or the government region. A bucket name cannot be used by another AWS account in the same partition until the bucket is deleted. So you want to use the same name, the previous bucket needs to be deleted. Wait for a few minutes, then you should be able to do it. So these are all some of the rules. You can go and take a look. It's a huge list. They've given you multiple examples of correct bucket name, invalid bucket names. You can go and try that. So let's go and see. I want to create a bucket called test. Okay. And even though the buckets, the S3 is a global service, still you have option to create your bucket in the regions. So we'll create a bucket in the US East 1 region. Don't worry about other things, we will see later. Just go down and create this bucket. See here, bucket with this name already exists. Actually, I don't have in my account, but somebody has this account. So it's always should be unique. So let's go and create a bucket name. Unique bucket name. So what I do is normally I just go and put some number so that that bucket is unique and it is not created by anyone else. Buckets are just like folders. Okay, see here, this is the bucket that's created. Now let's go inside the bucket and let's try to store some document, right? You have option to upload, create on upload, add files, go and add some file. Make sure you add some small files, not big ones, right? Just to, okay, click on this file. It will show the size always, because we will be paying for this. In the free term, we don't have any. We have like up to 3 GB or 4 GB. We have a limit. After that, they will get charged. Anyway, we are going to delete this once we are done. Once you upload this file, you can go inside this and you can see all the metadata. These are all the metadata, right? These are all the system metadata: owner, what is the URI, what is the region, last modified, size, type, object URL. All these are all your metadata. See here, this is the key. How it gets stored? It just stores the key name, and actual value of the file is your actual content. So click on this open. You can see here, this is the content of your actual file. So this is the value, but this is the key. Okay, a lot of things for each object, but for now just think about this. Okay, and you also have the option to create a folder, though it says folder in the UI, it will show like a folder, but actually it is not a folder. Let's go and try that and see. I create a folder called images, create this folder. It shows like folder, right? It shows like a folder. Let's go try to upload an object inside this folder. Let's put some document. Get inside this and see how it is getting stored. See the key. I want you to watch the key here. See here, this is the key. It says images / Ansible lab setup. So this is not a hierarchical structure. This is just a flat structure, and these are called prefixes. So this is what that we saw here, right? A/B/picture/a.jpg. That's how it gets stored. Even though it shows in the UI as a folder, this is how it is stored. It is not stored in this hierarchical order. Okay, this is on your just how to create your bucket and store your buckets. Now let's try to enable this version. So you can version your files in your AWS S3. So it is enabled at the bucket level. The versioning is enabled at the bucket level. Once you enable, you cannot disable. You can only suspend. So suppose you have the same file being uploaded again and again. There are a lot of situations where people will be keeping on working different versions of the same file, right? So it's better to enable the S3 versioning so that you can protect it from unwanted deletes. If somebody tries to delete, or you can go and restore. If there is an audit document where you have a monthly review on that audit, and your auditor wants a document that was uploaded in January, is the same document but uploaded in January, then only if you enable your versioning, you will be able to take that back, and you can easily roll back to the previous version as well. Any file that is not versioned prior to enabling versioning will have version as null. Version will be null. Only after enabling the version and uploading the same object, you will get a version ID. So let's go here and see how to enable that versioning. So again, this happens on the bucket level, not on the object level. So you need to go to the bucket, get inside the bucket, and go to properties. See, the first one is the bucket versioning. So edit this and go ahead and enable the bucket versioning. Okay, click on bucket versioning. As soon as you click on bucket versioning, once you get inside the bucket, under the objects, you can see this toggle button will come, show versions. Click on this show versions. See, we uploaded this text before we enable the version, so the version is null. Now let's go and upload the same object. Let's see what happens. It's the same object. Okay, it's uploaded. Now go and say show versions. See here, this is the previous version that is null because we did not enable the versioning when we uploaded first document. Then we enable the version. This is the version ID, right? So the latest version becomes the the latest one, the latest version ID. Which one is that? That will be considered as the latest document. If you click on this, you go to the URL here, you simply see there your file name. But if you go back to the one that is we have uploaded earlier, it will give you with the version ID is equal to null. So if you pass this version ID, you will get the particular version ID of those documents. So versions are very important. So please make sure you are enabling the version, and you can go here and see this is the current version. Okay. So once you enable the version, you cannot disable. See here, you can only suspend. But please be careful. We have to pay for the, even if you have multiple versions of the same object, it will all be treated as single objects and it will count to that particular storage. So right now in ours, we have 600 KB, 600 plus 600, we have 1200 KB that we need to pay for, right? Any questions so far, guys?
No, Chandra.
Okay.
No, Chandra.
Okay, let's talk about encryption. Okay, next is very important thing for exam and for your interview. Your encryption. Encryption is very, very important in AWS, right? So there are two types of encryption. Okay, let's talk about some encryption things that we have. There are two types of encryption. One is our encryption in flight or transit. Encryption in flight or encryption in transit. Next one is this encryption at rest. At rest. So what is the difference between encryption in flight, encryption in transit, or encryption at rest, right? So encryption in flight or transit is when the data is in transit, is moving from your laptop to the some physical place, right? Some place where it's going to sit. The flight that the data travels is called encryption in flight or encryption in transit. How do we ensure that the data is encrypted during the flight or during the transit is using your HTTPS, right? HTTPS and using your SSL protocol. Now, if you go to a bank site and you can see you have an HTTPS, or just go to Amazon itself, right? All these are all secured sites. See here, you have a lock symbol here. Click on this lock, and you will be able to see all your this one, right? Expand this, and you can go and see all your certificates and all those things. So this is encrypted. This is encrypted. So similarly, this is encryption flag. Now I have uploaded some document. So when my document has started moving from my laptop to the physical location of this AWS in US East 1, it is encrypted because we are passing it through HTTPS. This is called encryption at in-flight or encryption at transit. Encryption is at rest is when the actual data comes and sits in the AWS location, data center, or your this one, right? It's at rest. So the data is idle, it's static and is staying somewhere. So for this encryption at rest, we have different types of encryptions in AWS. That's what we are going to see. Encryption is in flight is the responsibility of the user or the customer. So there are four methods of encrypting objects in your S3. So they are called server-side encryption. And wherever you see the term SSE, that is server-side encryption. And one is, the first type is SSE S3. It encrypts S3 objects using keys handled and managed by S3 itself, right? Everything is managed by S3. Then we have server-side encryption, KMS. This is nothing but same server-side encryption, but now the key is managed using another service called key management service to manage your encryption keys. Then third one, we have SSE-C, where you have to manage your own encryption key and you pass the key along with the data. Last one is the client-side encryption. You do all the encryption, lock the object and send it to S3. So the first two are supported by AWS. The last two is dependent on your client. It is important to understand which ones are adapted to which situation for the exam. If you sit for the exam or for the interview, they will give you a situation. Based on the situation, you need to select the appropriate encryption methods, one of the four. Right? Let's deep dive into each and every one and see how it actually works. Let's talk about SSE S3. So SSE S3, server-side encryption. The keys are handled and managed by S3 itself. See here, the object is sent either as HTTP or HTTPS plus header. You need to pass the header. This particular header should be there. X AMG server-side encryption. Say the algorithm AES 256. Only then your S3 will create the key on this algorithm. It will lock your object and store it. It will encrypt and store it. And object is always encrypted on the server side. That's what we call it as SSE. Okay, this is the first type of encryption. Any questions here, guys? So understand this. Only if you understand this, you will be able to answer some of the questions in your exam or in your interview, right? This is the first level of encryption, and it's very, very simple. When you see the term SSE S3, then that means S3 is going to handle all the keys and everything for us, right? We don't have any access, nothing. But only thing we need to make sure we pass this header. If you don't pass this header, then your object will not be encrypted. The first type. The second type is SSE KMS. Now, SSE KMS is encryption using keys handled and managed by a service called Key Management Service, AWS Key Management Service. So, what is the advantage of having key management service over this one is this we don't have access to the key. We don't know what is happening. The S3 will create handle and it will do manage the keys. In this case, since we are managing it in an external service, we have some kind of privilege to go do some kind of control. You can rotate the keys and you have an audit trail who has created the key, who has accessed the key, and who has last rotated the key, and all those audit trail informations you can get for your security purpose. And the key is outside of this S3. The key is outside of the S3, but S3 will use this key to encrypt your object. This is the second level, SSE KMS. The third one is SSE client side. Now, SSEC server-side encryption using data keys fully managed by the customer outside of AWS. So what you do, you have your data and you encrypt it and pass the key also along with the data. So in that case, you need to make sure you can pass only over HTTPS because you are passing a key. You cannot use HTTP to pass the key. So Amazon S3 doesn't store your encryption key for you provide, right? All that it makes sure is it simply gets the key, locks it up and store it in your bucket, but it doesn't store the key. When you retrieve the object back, it will give you the encrypted object and along with the key, and you have to open it and you have to use it. So these are all client dependent. The last one is client-side encryption. The client library, such as Amazon S3 encryption clients must encrypt the data themselves before sending it to S3. You do all your encryption logic and lock the object and just send it. It will simply store the object just like a normal object. And the client must encrypt, they must decrypt, and they have their full control. They can manage their keys, encryption cycle, and everything should be managed by the client side. All that they do is they do everything, send the locked object, and the object will be stored on the S3. Okay, so these are the four different types of encryptions that we have. The first two are supported or it's managed by AWS. So we will be seeing how to set this and how to encrypt our object when we upload. And these two are done by the client side. So if you have some algorithm to encrypt your object, you can encrypt and share it, and you can store it in your S3. And when you are retrieving back, make sure that you have the appropriate key with you. Any doubt here, guys?
No, Chandra.
Okay. So let's move on. And as we talked about encryption in transit, AWS exposes two endpoints. One is unencrypted or insecure endpoint HTTP. Then another one is a secure endpoint HTTPS. So you are free to use any endpoint, but it's always recommended to use the secure one so that nobody hacks your data in between. Okay, HTTPS is mandatory, secure is mandatory for your this one because you are passing the key. So when you are passing the key, if you don't make it secure, then there is a chance that somebody can hack and take your data out. Encryption in flight is also called as SSL or TLS, Secure Shell Protocol, and TLS is Transport Layer Socket. Okay, so let's go and see how to enable this encryption for any object and how do we see. Encryption can be enabled at the bucket level and per object level also. Okay, so normally what the organizations will do, organization will enforce some kind of encryption policy, and that policy will be attached to the bucket. So they will enable in the bucket level. So all objects that are uploaded will automatically get encrypted using that encryption method. Okay, let's go and see what are the different types and how do we enable. Go to the bucket and go to the properties. Scroll down. See here, encryption. Default it is disabled. Let's go and enable. So we have only two types, right? SSE S3 and SSE KMS, because both are controlled by AWS. So enable this. So you have only these two. Amazon S3 managed SSE S3. You want an encryption key that Amazon S3 creates, manages, and use for you. You can go here and read more details about this encryption and how it is being done and all those things. Actually, this is out of scope. You don't have to kind of read this, but if you're really interested to know, you can go and do this. Okay, you can go and do this. And then we have AWS Key Management Service, SSE KMS, an encryption key protected by AWS Key Management Service. So this also you can go back and just check whatever that you wanted to. Want to learn more about the KMS, you can go and see, but we will also go and see how to create in KMS and use it here, right? We'll try to do that also. So what we can do, first we will enable this SSE S3 and we will save these changes. Okay, now before enabling this, I wanted to show you the old objects that we have. What is the encryption that we have? The encryption should be empty. Scroll down. See, server-side encryption is disabled. So let's go and enable on the bucket end, and let's go and try to upload the same object and see what happens, right? So let's go to properties of the bucket, not for the object. Versioning is already there. Go back and edit this and enable this first one, AWS S3, Amazon S3 managed SSE. So once you enable here, whatever object that you upload will default get encrypted using this SSE S3, but you still have the option to override to the other one. Let's see one by one. So go to the bucket and get inside the bucket and upload an object. Let's upload another new object, right? Add files. Go down. We have something here. Okay. Do an upload. Now this object should be encrypted because we asked it to encrypt using the default encryption. Just scroll down, see here. By default, it is encrypted with SSE S3, the first type, right? The first type that we saw. Now what has happened? As soon as we uploaded, this header was set. When we set at the bucket level, this header was automatically set for all the objects that we upload. So now what happened? S3 has created a key and it has locked. It has encrypted the object with that key and it has stored it. Now that's why it shows it is encrypted with this particular encryption type. Now let's go and upload another object and see if we can override. So before we override, let's go and see what is this KMS, right? Key management service. You can securely generate and manage your keys.
So Chandra, can we see that the header name with AM256 also in the name?
No, you cannot see.
It will just show the SSE. That
Yes,
only,
it will only show that. Yeah, it will only show that. It will dynamically set up that while you upload.
Okay.
While you upload, you can do that. And if you are creating your own page, own website, or all those things, then you can, when your users are trying to upload something in the programmatic way, you can set up that so that it gets automatically encrypted.
Okay.
So this is the key management service. We have AWS managed keys and customer managed keys. So when you click on AWS managed keys, there are some aliases, like say for example for S3. Okay, this is the key. This is a AWS managed key. If you click on this key, so these are all the details of the key. Okay, you don't have anything, you cannot do anything here. You don't have any actions, you don't have edit, nothing. All that you can simply see is what is there, that's all. But you can create your own customer managed keys. Customer managed keys. So what we will do, we will go with one managed key and we will create one key and see how to add that in our encryption. Okay, so that's the first level of encryption. Now, second level, what I'm doing, even though I set it as all the objects will be encrypted using SSE S3, I can go and overwrite for each and every individual object when I'm uploading. So for that, what we will do, let's go and create this, right? Go down, and before you upload, go to the properties. See, the server-side encryption is already enabled. So what we can do, you can go and use the default encryption bucket settings, or you can override. When you give default, it says SSE S3 managed. You can do a default and go to the KMS key and you can select the default AWS/S3. See here, AWS/S3. This is the alias name, S3. If you click on this, what is the key? It ends with 5537. Okay, 5537. Actually, this one is your 18970, right? Just go here. This is the ARN. Here, 18970. This is the key that will get attached to this. So you can override for this one particular object. You have option to override. Go and upload this. Once you upload this, go back and check the encryption. You will see the encryption. See here, 5537 is the one that is being set. So this is the default key. We don't have any control over this key because it is managed by AWS. Only thing is it is outside the S3, so we at least know we can come and see the key, right? But in the previous case, we could not even see the key. So this is one time. Now, assume that I want to manage my own key, not I don't want to use this one key. Let's go and create a key. You have option to create a key if you are an administrator. So there are two types of key. One is symmetric and asymmetric. Symmetric means one single key is used for both encryption and decryption. Asymmetric means we have two keys, one for encryption, one for decryption. We'll go for single symmetric key, and the key usage will be for encryption and decryption, not just to verify your MAC. Okay. If you go to advanced options, whether the key material origin, where is the origin of this key, whether it is external. If it is external, you need to import that, or if it is going to be inside your KMS, and whether this key will be used in a single region or a multi-region, that also you can go and select. For now, we will go for a single region and just say next, and give the alias name. What is the alias name will be? Give your name, whatever name you want, right? And see. Custom key. Tags are optional. If you want, you can add tags. Do a next. And now very important, who can administer this key, right? These are the users you have, roles you have in your IAM. So who can manage this key? So I, as an IAM administrator, can manage this key. I'm the key administrator. Okay, allow key administrators to delete this key. Make sure you check this box. Next, who can use this key? Who are all the people who can use this key? Right now, I'm just selecting just my name, but you can create a role, and that role can be attached to a user, set of users, and then all those people can be able to do this. Or you can also share it to other account. So somebody from other account can also manage your key. Do a next and go ahead and review and go ahead and finish it. What will happen? It will create a key for you here, a symmetric key. So what are all the options we have if we create our own key? These are all things you can enable, you can disable, you can schedule key deletion, and you can do an edit or that delete on the tags. Nothing else you can do. You cannot do anything else. Okay. So let's keep this key, and now let's go upload another object and override with our own key, right? So inside KMS, you have two types, right? One is the managed key, or one is the key that you wanted to create your own instead of AWS managed. So let's go upload, add another file. Now, if you go down, by default, the encryption will be enabled with the default encryption, the first one, since we did it in the bucket policy, bucket enabled on the bucket, it's already there. You specify an encryption key, you override your encryption and use the KMS key, okay, and that is choose from your KMS key, not from the managed one. Initially we saw managed one, now the one, refresh here and go and see, this is the key, right? Chandra DC 6498. Just go down here, 498. This is the key that we can select, and you can go and upload this. Then this object will be encrypted with that key. So these are all the two types of encryptions that we can do as part of our this one. See here, this is the key 498. AWS KMS key ARN. ARN means Amazon resource name. Amazon resource name. Okay, so this is what your encryption is. Any doubt here, guys? So these are the four types, and these two types we have seen because only these two are managed by AWS. These two are outside the AWS. Okay, fine. Let's move on. So this is just an encryption, and next we have to talk about security. So security of each object, that now who can access this object, right? Those are all based upon some IAM policies. We saw IAM policies in the beginning, so we will use some IAM policies. They are called bucket policies. So you can use bucket policy, and say for example you wanted to share some photos with your friends, right? With your friends or with public, with your somebody, or you are having a static, you are having a blog site and you want to create a website, you can create and make it public, and so everybody can go out and do this, right? Let's go see how to create this resource based type of policies, how to create a bucket policy, and how to make sure that we are able to access this from outside, right? Let's do one thing. So for that, what we need to do, let's go to this bucket, upload an image or something, and see if we are able to access that image, right? So we have some tree image here. Open this. Don't worry about the encryption, let it be all default. Go ahead and upload. Once you upload and get into this particular file, you will see an object URL here. This is a global URL. So right click on this URL and try to open in a new tab. see what's happening. You will not have access because this object is private to me and only I can access within AWS but not outside the AWS. So we are going to write some policies to see how to access this outside. Suppose you want to access this inside itself, then just go and click on this open. When you click on this one, what happens? It opens and you see it sends all security tokens in your header, right? So this is the image. So how do we see this outside? How somebody else can see this, right? That's what we have to create some policies and set up the security stuff. So for that, there are two things. Either you can go to your permissions here and set the ACL for each and every object, which is not the right recommendation. You have to go and enable the permissions on the bucket level. And then what will happen? Your bucket, all the objects that you upload will adhere to that policy. Okay. So if I want to access publicly, first I need to edit this and say remove this. And once you change this, to confirm here and do a confirm. See, the access type is now, it says objects can be public inside this bucket. The objects can be public. It's still not public. It can be public. So to make it really public, so we can access it from outside, something called bucket policy. So this is what we talk about, the security. Click on this bucket policy. And this is a policy where you can go and write your policy. If you don't know how to write a policy, there are some examples for policy, and there is something called tool called policy generator. So we can use this tool to generate our policy. So what is the type of policy we need? It's a S3 bucket policy. Okay. Now what is this effect? We have two effects, either allow or deny. So allow, for whom? It's for everybody. On what particular action? We have 73 APIs for S3. So one particular to read this object is get object is an API that we can use to read any object. So we will only select get object. Okay, fine. Now this is allow for everybody on for this API on what? On this bucket. That's what we need to say. On this bucket. So this is called ARN. Let's break down this and see what we can do. This is called ARN. ARN is nothing but Amazon resource name. So first is ARN. This stands for AWS, and then this stands for the service, and this here in the middle, it is for the region. If it is a global region, it will be empty. If it is a regional service, you may have the word US East one here. Okay, so that represents region, and this one is here a resource name, the bucket. So we will copy this ARN and go to the policy and say, okay, all this applies to this bucket and slash star this bucket and all objects inside this bucket. That's what we are going to say here. Add this statement. This was, we will say principal is star allow for this particular API for this resource. There are no any other condition. Generate a policy. A policy will be generated. Let's take this policy and go and review what this policy is. This is what it's doing, right? So there is an ID for the policy. There is the version. This is not by default. You will get. There is a statement. Okay, statement is a list. So you will get in this bracket. Only one statement is there, and inside the statement you have multiple statements. Okay, each statements are segregated by comma. Here we have only one statement starting from here to here. This is a single statement. Inside that statement you have statement ID, which is some number, it's auto generated. Action we have given, right? Under S3 only get object API is allowed. Effect is allow on what? Allow on this bucket and all objects in this bucket. So if you don't give the star, it will only give access to the bucket, not the objects inside the bucket. Okay, but you can also say specific thing also. You can also say tree.jpg, right? You can say specifically for this object, or you can say all objects under this bucket. Then principal, who? Everybody. Or you can specifically say only your user, right? So those things that you can say here. So let's copy this. go back down here and enter it here. Enter it here, and if there are any errors, it will show in red. So please make sure you kind of remove all the errors before you save it. Go ahead and save the changes. What is the error? Something is not matching here. Go back, copy the entire stuff. Since we made some changes, click on change, save changes. Now you see the access is public, so you can publicly access this document. Now go back to your tree.jpg and go do this, and you should be able to access it. So this is a bucket policy, how you can manage your bucket policies. There are a lot of policies that you have a lot of examples. You can go to these examples and you can start putting these things, right? You can have a lot of examples. You can try these examples by setting these policies on the bucket.
Yesterday I have come up with the same question in the practice exam.
Oh, okay.
Yes, same questions.
Okay. So you can put some conditions. Suppose you can limit access only to specific IP address. So this is the bucket policy, to limit to specific IP address. So deny star S3 star for this resource, condition not in IP. That means if the source IP is not within this range, then please deny. That's what we say, right? So this is what the policy. So anybody with this IP 54.240.143/24, right? /24 means 32 minus 24 is 8. So 2 to the power 8, right? 2 to the power 8, whatever number that comes, that is the range of the IP, right? So whoever is in this range, so if it is your company, they'll give your network range, then you will only be able to access other. If somebody else is trying to access, they cannot access. See here, they have given this is for the bucket, comma and slash dot star. So for the bucket and for the all the objects inside the bucket, right? We can go ahead and write policies like this, and you can go and set it up. So this is for specific IP, and we want to allow only IPv4 and IPv6. For that, this is the IP. This is the way that you need to do. So there are a lot of things, right? And go try out all these things. So restricting access to specific HTTP referrer. So only when it comes from example.com, please allow, right? That also you can say. How do you do that? Here it is there. Condition string like AWS referrer HTTP example.com. Now, how do we go and put this in this policy? We have something called conditions, right? Add these conditions here. This is what all the conditions are. Okay. So if you go down, you can see conditions like this, and you can put all those conditions. Whatever condition you wanted to put, you can put there. So not in IP address. Okay, what is the IP address? Source IP, and put the value, whatever value that you want to put, 1.2.1.2.3.4, and add this condition and add the statement. No action is selected. You need to actually add all these things before we do this. It will be all actions also. All actions will just give only the star, nothing else. Copy this, go to the policy generator and give this, right? Go down, add the statement. So we have condition and the statement. Now generate the policy. See the difference, right? We have actually two there. That is why it's showing two. Actually, it should be only one. So if you see here, allow only if it is not in IP, is 1.2.3. It's the same thing that what we saw here, right? So like this, you can go and see string like a referrer only if it is coming from example.com, then they should be able to see this. So there are a lot of examples like this. You can go and try all these things, right? So you require a MFA, adding an MFA to your bucket policy, and you can see a condition, AWS multi-factor auth age true, only then you will be able to see those documents, right? So those things you can do all the, you can go and try all these permissions here. Okay, try this and see, and you will get a good understanding of those policies. Okay, now we are able to access your tree.jpg because we have made that as public. Okay, any questions here, guys? So this is what we saw, the bucket policy. They are all JSON based policy. You have a resource, buckets and objects. You have action, whether it will set of APIs to allow or not. It's like we saw S3 colon star all actions, or S3 colon get object only one particular API. Effect either allow or deny. Principal means to who can access this, right? You can specifically give one account or a user, or you give star, everybody will be able to access. So you can use S3 bucket to bucket policy to grant public access to your bucket, force objects to be encrypted. Now you can write policies and attach to this bucket and say whoever uploads any document, it has to be, you have to force them to encrypt, and you can grant access to another account, cross account, all those things that you can do by writing these bucket policies. Okay. Next thing we have is something called consistency model. Okay, you need to know this. There is a old one also prior to December 2020. But if you go to some mock exams or some dumps very old in the net, you might see this the old consistency model as well. There are two types of consistency. One is eventual consistency, another is strong consistency. When we say strong consistency, you can read the object immediately after it is uploaded, you will get the full latest object. That's called strong consistency. Eventual consistency means you upload an object now, your users may see the old, or you update an object, the same object, it may take few seconds for them to get the new object. So it is eventually consistent, but they will either get the old object or the new object. They will never get something in between. So that is called eventual consistency. Right now, after December 2020, everything is strong consistency. There is no eventual consistency. But if you happen to go through some of the questions of the old pattern, then you may see this eventual consistency. Just understand, eventually they are consistent, but they are not strong consistent. So S3 delivers strong read after write consistency automatically for all applications at no additional cost. So after successful write of a new object, or an overwrite or delete of an existing object, any subsequent read request immediately receives the latest version of the object. So there is no any delay. It's all real time. S3 also provides strong consistency for list operations. So after a write, you can immediately perform list of your objects in the bucket with any changes reflected. So which means you upload and you make modification, the other side of the party can immediately see your objects, updated objects. That's why it's called strong read after write consistency. Very important thing, you can create your S3 as your static website. So we will go and see how to create a static website. So you can create your own website and you can have it in the S3. You can upload objects and upload this one. Suppose you want to share your birthday pictures to your mom who is staying away from you. You can make this as a small website, put it in S3 and share the link to your mom. Your mom can go and see all your birthday photos of your kids or you and all those things, right? So you can go and do this. Again, please be aware that you will be charged for the storage. Outside of your free tier, you will be charged. Okay, but still, it's a nice way, instead of you sending this over email or zipping this and sending it in the courier, maybe, or you are taking a printout and sending it a courier. All the expenses, if you calculate those expenses, the S3 website is more cheaper than doing all those things, right? If you want to take a printout of all the 100 photos and send it to your mom, you have to pay the charge for printing that paper, and you need to send the courier charge and all those things. There is a possibility that you may lose the data in the between, or that the parcel might not go in a shape that you actually sent it. So a lot of things are there, and if you calculate those charges that you use, the S3 website is best and cheap. Okay, let's go and see how to enable this static website and how we create our static website. So S3 can host static websites and have them accessible over the internet. The website URL will be like this. So sometimes in the exam, they will ask about the URL also. Okay, this is how the URL will be: bucket name .s3 hyphen website. Then this is the region name, and then this is the Amazon AWS.com. So this is the example, right? I have a bucket name 1041 hyphen website .s3 website, US East 1, and Amazon this one. So sometimes they will give you this and ask you for the correct URL also. Okay, if you are in a practitioner exam, sometimes in associate architect exam also you may get this. If you get a 4034 bit error, make sure the bucket policy allows public read. If the public read is not there, it will show you 4-bit error. Okay, let's go and try to create how to enable this website and create a website, and I will show you. For that, what we will do, we will create a new bucket. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's go and delete this KMS key. This key will not be deleted immediately. It will take 7 days. So there is a 7-day window for you to go on and decrypt those objects that you already encrypted with this particular key. So you cannot directly delete it. You can only schedule the key deletion. Go and do a schedule the key deletion, and maximum is 30 days and minimum is 7 days. Since we are not going to use this, we are going to delete the objects. Let's make it 7 days. After 7 days from today, the key will be deleted. Please confirm this. See,
So Chandra, whether this is chargeable for 7 days?
This KMS key is chargeable, but we haven't inside, inside free tier it is covered. So after 7 days it will be gone.
Okay.
So you have 7 days of time to go and manage, go and take out those documents which is being used by this key and decrypt it and change it and do whatever you want, right? So that's why they're giving you this 7 days. Okay, that's fine. Now let's go ahead and see what we can do. Let's go and create a website. So we will have a separate, we'll create a separate bucket. So please be careful if you are enabling public access to your bucket. The reason for that is, if there are any sensitive data, then others can be able to see that. So please be very careful in providing the public access to your bucket, right? So I'm creating this bucket name. Once I create the bucket, at the bucket level, I have to enable as static website hosting. Go inside the bucket and go to properties and go to the dead end, right? Static website hosting. It's disabled. Go there, enable this. When you enable, it's asking whether you want to host a static website or you want to redirect request to some other object, right? You can redirect request to some other objects also. If you want to learn more, just click here. They will say you what the redirection is, how to redirect. So whenever something comes to this particular URL, redirect to some other things, right? You can go and do that. Okay. So these are the JSON file, those things you need to set up. Okay. So let's go for host website hosting. So static website hosting, by default, the default page name should be index.html. It cannot be any other name. Okay. So let's give index.html. And in case of any error, you what the files that you want to show, you make it as error.html. That's an optional. Okay. That's all. Come down and say save changes. Once you save these changes, go back to the properties, go to the end, and what will happen? You will get a public URL. See here, this is the URL by bucket name, s3-website, the region name, and Amazon AWS.com. This will be your site. Now, what we need to do, let's go to this. There is actually nothing now. You see, 403 forbidden error we will get. It has to be public. Before we make it public, we have to upload those index.html and other things, right? So that you can go ahead and see your page. So for that, what we will do, we will upload. I already have a small static page. We can go to there. Error.html and your index.html. Upload these two. Upload it. And I also have an image that is there. So let's go. Upload that image also. So let's create a folder called images. It's actually a prefix. Okay. I keep on saying folder. It is a prefix. Let's create a folder. And upload some JPEG that you have, right? Means whatever name that you are using in your static web page, you need to pass it there. But still, again, you will get forbidden error because it is not public. But you can go inside and open the index.html and see what is exactly there. What are we trying to do? Just a normal HTML page. So click on index.html and click on this open here. So this is what we will see. Okay, and there is an image, and once we expose that, then we will get that image. Okay, so now what we need to do, we need to go to the permissions and make this as public. We saw that, right? How to make it public. Go here, save changes, confirm, go down, edit this policy and go to the policy generator and create the bucket policy. Allow to everybody because it's open to public. I don't want all the services, just one get object which will just read the objects. Try to be specific APIs, right? Don't put all, right? Star. And for which bucket? This is the ARN of my bucket. Take the ARN and go and put it here and say /star. Add this, generate the policy. Just copy this policy correctly and go ahead and paste it here. What happened? Did we miss something? Every time we miss something here.
Last closing
Yeah,
bracket
last
is
one.
missing.
Yeah, that is missing, right? Something is missing. Okay, fine. Now go ahead and save these changes. And once you save these changes, now go back to your bucket. And now both the buckets are public. Go to this and go to your properties and go to the end of this one and click on this static website hosting. This is what your website is. Now this is the URL that you can share it to your mom or someone, right? Your friends. Now suppose I'm trying to access a file which is not there, then by default we have to get something in the error message, right? a.html is not there, so it will show that error.html. So this is how you need to do a static website hosting. This is very, very important. Suppose if you're doing any maintenance on your regular app servers or web servers or application, then you can ask the users to redirect to this S3 website. So until you complete your changes, it will be showing under maintenance. Okay, so this is on your S3 websites. Next, we have an important concept called storage tiers. How these documents or objects are getting stored. There are so many different tiers of classes of storage we have based upon the pricing and different parameters. So we have S3 standard. By default, it is S3 standard. Okay. So S3 standard. Then we have S3 infrequently accessed, S3 one zone, and then glacier. We have these three, and we also have an intelligent tiering. We will talk about that also, right? So S3 standard is the default storage class that we have, and that is 99.99% availability is there, and 11 nines durability. 11 nines, it's called 11 nines. If you count, there will be 11 nines. It's stored redundantly across multiple devices in multiple facilities. So when I upload in a standard S3 package, what will happen? Then by default, AWS will store the same object in two or more multiple different facilities so that they can make sure that availability and durability is there, and is designed to sustain the loss of two availability zones concurrently. So even if two facilities goes down, the third one is still available for us with the data. Next is S3 infrequently accessed, for data that are accessed less frequently but requires rapid access. Say for example, you will access the document only once in a month, but whenever you access, you want the data immediately, then go for infrequently accessed, but you will be charged for some retrieval fee. Comparing to S3, the charges are very less for S3 infrequently accessed. S3 one zone. S3 one zone is this, basically it's a lower cost option for infrequently accessed, but you don't require any multiple availability zone, then go for this one. Okay, you have to go for this when you think that even if you lose the data, there is no issue, only then you need to go for this. And if you're having a sensitive data and putting it in this class, and if something happens to that availability zone, you will never recover that sensitive data. So please make sure only if you have a reproducible data, you need to go there. Then you have Glacier, is very, very cheap and is used for only archiving. And you have two types of retrieval, standard, expedited, and bulk retrieval. A standard retrieval will take 3 to 5 hours. Expedited will take 1 to 2 hours, but you need to pay some retrieval charges for that. Bulk retrieval will take more hours, like 12 hours or so. Okay, so these are all some of the things that you need to understand how we compare the different storage tiers or classes for S3.
I think a lot of question comes from this area. I have observed that one.
Yeah. A lot of questions will come here. So if you see the design for durability, all are designed for 11 lines. So availability standard is 99.9. This is 99.9. This is 99.95. And Glacier is no availability because this is just a archiving stuff. Availability SLA 99.9 or everything is 99. Availability zone, it will have the data, copy of data in more than three or more. Since it is name itself specify one zone, it will be in only one facility. Minimum capacity charge, there is nothing for S3. Even if you are uploading 1 KB, you pay for 1 KB. But whereas in S3 standard IA, 1A, and then one zone infrequently accessed on Amazon Glacier, there are minimum capacity charge. If you store 100 KB, you have to minimum pay for 128 KB. Okay, so for both. So minimum storage duration, there is no any duration here. Even if you store this for 1 day, you have to pay for 30 days. Similarly for one zone, similarly for Glacier. If you place the document in Glacier for archived documents for 5 days, but you have to pay for minimum 90 days. There are very small charges. Okay, retrieval fee, there is no retrieval fee for your standard, but for other 3 classes you have, per GB retrieve, you need to pay some retrieval fee. First byte latency. What is first byte latency? How fast you can get the document in milliseconds. All in milliseconds. This will be in minutes or hours, depending upon the type of retrieval that you do. All are object-based storage and all supports lifecycle transitions. We'll talk about lifecycle transition. What is lifecycle transition? We can write some rules to say when objects are over 30 days, move from here to here, and move that same object from here to here after 90 days. After 180 days, move it to Glacier. All this can be automated using lifecycle transitions, right? So this is what we do. So S3 will charge you for storage, request, storage management pricing, data transfer pricing as well. Within the availability zone, there is no cost. If you go outside the region or availability zone, you need to pay some money. So you can take a look at this particular pricing. So always the pricing in AWS is variable. So you need not learn anything or kind of remember any type of pricing for your exam. You can see here for each and everything. And here you have for free tier, what are the things we have for free tier. And this is for S3, different storage classes. Okay, now let's go to this bucket and see where are those classes and what is the default class, right? Default class is always standard S3 storage, right? Just see here, just scroll down. See here, by default it is standard storage. Now you can override this storage while you are uploading the document as well, right? So let's go and see different types of documents as well, different type of storage, and we'll talk about the intelligent tiering as well. Okay, just go down and go to properties. See here, this is a storage class. By default, it is S3 standard, and we have standard one infrequently accessed, one zone, Glacier flexible, deep archive. For Glacier itself, we have a couple of things on the deep archive. So you can see all these things here. This RRS redundancy, reduced redundancy is no more. It is not recommended to use this. This is actually deprecated. Okay, so we don't use this. Now we have this something called intelligent tiering. What is this intelligent tiering? Now, if it is a frequently accessed data, I will place it here. If it is infrequently accessed data, I will place it here. If it is something recreatable data, I will place it here. If it needs to be archived, I'll place it in one of this. Now, when you go to your customer and he's asking for some solution and you are asking him some questions, right? What are your access patterns in your data? The customer says, I don't know, right? Because he is a new customer. Whoever knows the document has resigned, and the guy who has taken over that place is a new guy. He says, I don't know any type of access pattern. I don't know how these documents, there are 10 documents, how those documents behave, I don't know. So in that case, you cannot say, I don't have a solution for you, right? For that only, they have given this intelligent tiering. What will happen is, you take the project from that guy and you put your storage into intelligent tiering. What this intelligent tiering will do, it will watch your access patterns for over a period of time, 2 months, 3 months, right? So I'll say that I have 10 documents and it will watch the access patterns of those 10 documents for a month. Suppose document 1 and 2 is being accessed regularly, and document 6 and 7 are never even accessed, and document 5 and 6 is accessed once in a month. What it will do, it will watch all these patterns and it will recommend after a certain time saying, hey, based on the access patterns, I see document 1 and 2 can go into standard, document 5 and 6 can get into the infrequent access, document 9 and 10 get into the archive, right? Based on the access pattern. That is intelligent tiering. Some kind of algorithm is machine learning algorithm is written in this one, and it will go and watch your patterns. So wherever you don't know your patterns, so please go for data with changing or unknown access patterns. We'll go for the intelligent tiering. Now there is one thing catch here, right? You have to pay some monitoring fees for this. Okay, per object fees will be there for some monitoring or tiering fees only for this class. So it will be there. So this you can use for intelligent tiering if you don't know the access patterns for your documents. So when you go back to the customer, you can ask, you have to ask a lot of questions, and one question will be, what is your access pattern on your, they say I have 10 TB of data. Okay, that is fine. Are you using all the 10 TB daily? No, they will not be using, right? They will only be using certain things. So what are the access patterns? If they don't know, don't put it in intelligent tiering, but please keep the customer informed that they may get some tiering monitoring fees as well for that. Okay, this is your intelligent tiering. So by default it is standard, and you can go and override this when you are uploading to any object, right? You can do all these things. This is your storage class. Very, very important. You will get a lot of questions, as Abhinav was saying. There are a lot of questions that you will get in the in this area, even if you sit for the interview or for your exam, right? Wherever you go, you will get this question. They will mainly ask you this question. You are going to a customer, they will give you a scenario. There is a new project coming up and you are assigned as a solution architect and you need to provide a solution. But when you go to the customer says that he doesn't know what his data documents are doing or what is the access pattern. So how you will recommend to your customer? Then you will say, yeah, okay, that is no problem. Still we can move it to AWS and we will go for intelligent tiering and we will try to find out the access pattern in that 1 month or 2 months or 3 months, whatever time period that you set up with your customer, you need to let them know. They will get additional monitoring tiering fees for those 3 months. After 3 months, the storage cost will come down because we will be moving this to appropriate storage classes based upon the access patterns that you need to say. Okay, this is how you need to reply in your interview or when you sit for your exam. Any questions here, guys, so far? Please get it clarified. We will not come back to S3 again. Okay, so let's talk about data transfer acceleration. Now, so far we have been uploading documents using our internet, right? Using our internet. Now my bucket is in the US, I'm in Chennai. Okay, I have uploaded a document. So my document, the connection has to travel from Chennai to US through the ISP, right? Through my ISP. So for example, I have a Airtel. I have Airtel. So what my Airtel will do, from my home, it will go to Chennai hub. From Chennai hub, it will go to Mumbai hub. Mumbai is the hub for Airtel for India. For all the connections in India will finally reach Mumbai. And from Mumbai, it will go to, say, we don't know, right? It may go to Singapore, Indonesia, Thailand. It will travel the world like that, right? And it will go and reach our US and upload my document and come back. Now, during this process, there will be a lot of packet losses. Right? Even though you are in your house, you may get 100 Mbps, but when it is traveling in the Indonesia, it might not be 100 Mbps. It might be only 10 Mbps. Right? We don't know. It will be, there will be a lot of packet losses, so there will be a lot of latency. A lot of things will happen. Okay, this is just for one object. We cannot find out that when there are multiple, so many objects, it's difficult to upload. So we can opt for data transfer acceleration. What this data transfer acceleration will do, it will go and transfer your files over the long distances between us and the S3 bucket, wherever it is. Okay, this will actually take advantage of Amazon's CloudFront globally distributed edge location. So we talked about edge location in the first class. So the data will arrive at the edge location, and from there it is sent to the bucket over the optimized network path. That means in Chennai we have 2 edge location, and in Bangalore we have 3. So now I'm in Chennai. I don't know where in Chennai it is, okay? But I'm in my home. I'm uploading this document using this data transfer acceleration. What will happen? The object will first go to the edge location nearest to me, which is in Chennai somewhere, right? Assume that I'm in Pallikaranai and it is in, say, Tambaram, right? For example. So the object will go to the Tambaram, where the data that leaves from my house till that edge location is over public internet. After it reaches the edge location, from edge location to my bucket in the US will be using their backbone, their private network, which will be very, very fast. That is where it's called data transfer acceleration. So it takes advantage of your CloudFront global distributed edge location. As the data arrives at edge location, data is routed to S3 over optimized network path. They have their own path. Now, there might be situations, right? So this is how it happens, right? It looks like. So I am here. Okay, I am here. My edge location is here in Australia. I upload a document. It will go only here. Then from here to here, the bucket in London, it will go through the backbone. If I don't use this data acceleration, what will happen? I have to travel the whole world. Suppose from Australia, if this guy is going, how this will actually go? From Australia, this ISP connection will cross and go to this particular place like Japan and all those things. From there, then it has to go via India. Then from there, it will go like this, like this, like this, like this. At last, it will come here. And what will happen? By the time it reaches here, you will lose most of the packets. The network will be very slow, and always the internet solution providers, right? Internet service providers will always have their cables running optimally, and physically it should be feasible, and it should be economically scalable for them. So they will not worry about speed when it moves from one country to another country. And each and every country has their own laws, right? In India, we have our own internet laws. Internet cannot be like going beyond this or below this or all those. They have restrictions, right? And they cannot dig, and it cannot go through this city. It cannot go through that city. So it has to cross all these hurdles and go back to US to get your data back. But if you use enable data transfer acceleration, what will happen? You simply, your internet will go from your home till the nearest edge location alone over public internet. That the loss may be very less compared to moving to the whole world, right? And then from there, from the edge location to the source, everything will happen through AWS backbone network. They have a dedicated network. We saw that already. 10 gigabyte Ethernet cable they have. It will go through that. Keep in mind, data transfer acceleration is chargeable. Doesn't come under free tier. Okay. So before using this data transfer acceleration feature, you can go ahead and check. Now from my home, what is the latency I get, right? What is the advantage I get if I upload directly or if I upload via data transfer acceleration? For this, there is a site which is provided by Amazon. You can go to that site and you can go and find out. Let's go and find out, right? So I'm in Chennai. So this particular tool evaluates our network bandwidth, your ISP bandwidth, your internet speed. Based on that, it will calculate at this point of time, based on my internet speed. This is what the result I get, right? What happened? Something we missed somewhere. But we are missing something. Okay. So this is the Amazon S3 transfer acceleration speed comparison. See here. Now my bucket is in Northern Virginia. I am sitting in Chennai. Now if I do a direct S3 upload, what is the percentage? And if I do a S3 data transfer upload, what is the advantage I get? How much percentage I can increase, right? Let us see that. So it shows for all the region. Now again, these results are based on at this point of time from my house using my internet speed. Okay. So if I do this again after 15 minutes, it may vary. So if I have now, so far we have only tried direct upload, right, for one object. If I would have enabled this data transfer acceleration, the data would have been transferred 8% faster than the normal time. Okay, if my bucket was in Virginia, of course my bucket is in Virginia right now, and you will not see this benefit if you are only doing for one or two objects. It should be bulk objects only. You will see some benefit over that. See here, now if my bucket is in San Francisco, this will take some time for all the regions, and then you can see. And it can be opposite also. Sometimes your S3 direct upload might be faster than your accelerated transfer at this point of time based on your internet speed and where you are accessing from. Let's see now, if my bucket would have been in US West 1, and if I have used a accelerated transfer, the data might transfer 11% faster than the direct upload, right? So this is how you can go and verify your data transfer acceleration before enabling that.
Maybe for Mumbai it will be faster because it is in the same India region.
No, we cannot say that, right? We cannot say that, right? Again, all depends on my ISP and how it travels, right?
Yeah.
How it travels. It is not that even if it is next to my house, it can be very fast. I cannot say that, right? Again, it depends on how your internet goes and how the packet losses are there. Based on all those things, they calculate this. See, if I have my bucket in Oregon, then it will be 40% faster if I do a accelerated transfer. Now, when you say 40% faster and you want to upload, if you do a bulk upload, and even though you pay some money, it is really cheap for you because you don't have to do uploads for 12 hours. You can only do upload for maybe 8 hours or something, right? Your uploads will complete in 8 hours. If the normal upload might take 12 hours, 40% it will be faster. It will be other way around also sometimes, so we need to wait and watch. Sometimes some places it might be other way around also, but again it depends what time of the day you are doing this test, right? Suppose if you're doing in the evening, it's a peak, right? It's a peak, so that time most of the things will be red, but you need to try and see. So this is for Frankfurt, Tokyo region, Seoul, Singapore, Sydney, then you have Mumbai, Ohio and Canada. Please note there will be no China region here. No China region, Beijing, it's not there. And government clouds is not allowed for us. So let this go and we'll continue with this. We'll come back and check on this one. This will take some time. So this is on the data transfer acceleration. Okay. So next very important topic we need to talk about is replication, right? Replication. There are two types of replication. One is same region replication, it's called SRR. Another one is CRR, cross region replication. So cross region replication is a feature of S3 that allows you to asynchronously replicate all new objects in the source bucket in one region to a target bucket in another region. Suppose you want to take a backup or you want to share some documents with your offshore development team. So you can create a bucket and share the objects there and immediately it get replicated to the other region. Any metadata or ACLs associated with the object are also part of the replication. After you set up cross-region replication on your bucket, source bucket, any changes to the data or metadata of an object can trigger a new replication on the destination bucket. To enable very important question in your exam as well as in your interview, to enable replication, versioning must be enabled both on target and source bucket. If you don't enable versioning, this will not work. Okay, so please keep that in mind. The important criteria for replication is both source and target versioning must be enabled. And you must use the IAM policy to give permission to replicate your objects on your behalf. So of course you need to give permission so that your S3 can go and replicate. Okay, so cross-region replication is commonly used to reduce the latency required to access objects in S3 by placing objects closer to the set of users to meet or to meet requirement to store some backup or data at certain distance from the original data source. Now, if you're taking a backup of the data, suppose you're having a data in standard S3 storage tier, while you're replicating, since that's just a replication, you want to save some cost. Only in the replication data, you can make that as infrequently accessed or one zone IA. You will still reduce the cost, but you will still have the data. If turned on an existing bucket, cross-region replication will replicate only the new objects. So after you created some objects, uploaded some objects, and then enable this replication will happen only for the new objects. The old objects will not be replicated. You will be given a chance to replicate only once while you're doing, or you can write some program to replicate the older objects. Let's go and see how to do this, right? So let's go and create a two buckets, and let's go and see how to create a replication. This is also very, very important. Please keep in mind. Let's go create a bucket, and let's call this bucket 1040 and make this as source, and we will make another as the sources in Northern Virginia, and we will create destination in Mumbai. Assume that your on-site team is in US and the offshore development team is in India. They want to share some document, they can go do this replication and place it closer to you. Destination, and let's go and make this as in Mumbai. Our destination is in Mumbai. Okay, so go to the source. Only in source you need to enable, and you need to refer the destination there. Go to the source and go to the management and come down. Here is where you have to create the replication rules. Create a replication rule and give some name, say my CRR rule, whatever name you want to give, right? Okay, status is enabled. Then come down, you have to select the source bucket. Since we are inside the source bucket, it will automatically take it. And again, what you want to replicate? Do you want to limit the scope of the rule using one or more filters? Like I want to always replicate only the things that are inside images, or I want to replicate the documents which ends with doc. So these prefixes you can use to limit certain objects, or you want to apply to all the objects in the bucket also, you can do. Okay, destination. Choose the bucket in this account. Either you can choose this in this account or in another account. Okay, so in this account, go and browse this, and this is the destination we wanted to select. Choose the path, destination. See, replication requires versioning to be enabled, so you need to enable. Without that it will not work. So for the destination bucket, we have to enable the versioning. IAM role, either you can create an IAM role and then you can do, or you can enter an existing one. We will choose one that we already have. I'll go and show you what that policy is, that right? Some CRR. Okay, I don't know, we need to go and check this rule limit quickly because we have to change the bucket names. Let's go to IAM, right click, open in a new tab. Go to roles. Let's select some existing roles. CRR, right? Okay, let's take this 518 or 710 CRR role. Let's open this role and let's go and see what other permissions we have. This is the actual policy that is being created for this. Let's go and see what is there. If we need to edit it, let's go and edit that. Okay. Okay. I think we are good. We'll have to change this, edit this policy. edit it as JSON. In the JSON, if you see, it simply says action, all these actions to allow, and then to replicate your object, you need to give that, and for which source. This is the source. The destination is again the same thing, 1040 only. Okay, 1040. See, this is for the bucket. This is for all objects in the bucket. Similarly for source and destination. And coming back to replicate objects, this is the source, this is the destination. And we will use this 710 CR as our okay. Fine. We have source and destination. Fine. Now go ahead here, refresh this, and go and select 07010. This is the CRR role that we need to attach so that it will happen. Now go ahead and save. This will throw an error. The reason for that is your source bucket also, your versioning is not enabled in your source bucket as well, right? Source bucket also, the object is not enabled, so it is not allowing you to create it. So what you need to do, you need to enable the versioning for the source as well. But destination is fine. See here on the top, this is the error we are getting. Replication requires versioning to be enabled on the source bucket. Go for an enable. So that's a minimum criteria for you to, for CRR to happen, cross-region replication to happen. So now, see, it's asking a one-time batch job for you, whether you wanted to replicate existing object or you don't want to do, right? If you choose not to do, then you have to do it by yourself. This option is given to you only once. Okay, since we don't have any objects there, I'm just going to make it no. Now we have this replication rule. So this rule is enabled and it will work on this rule. Now let's go back to our source and put some document there and see if it is getting replicated to our destination, right? So this will you will get it within 5 minutes or so, right? So let's go to destination. I don't have anything in the destination. I don't have anything in the source. Now I'm uploading something in my source. Source is in US, destination is in Mumbai. Upload.
So Chandra, while upload the document, if we put the rules like dot slash document only should be visible. So in that case, if we upload with multiple objects with doc, PDF, and whatever, only dot will be visible.
Yeah, all the documents, all the objects that are ending with the prefix .doc will be replicated.
Replicated. Okay.
Yeah, so that is where you can filter whether you want to replicate only certain amount of certain documents or you want to replicate all. Okay, so just hold on here for a minute. Then once it is done, see here, it's already replicated. This is the source that we have, and the source we just uploaded this, and it gets replicated. Okay, 847.35. See here, 847.35. So this is a very small object, so it just gets replicated immediately. But the maximum time that it will take is 15 minutes, and the replication is asynchronous. Asynchronous means it will take some time. It is not real time immediately. Okay, but it is better, right? Just less than 15 minutes, you will get the data. So you keep on putting this, and it gets source and destination will get replicated. So cross-region replication you can use for certain type of use cases like sharing some documents, or you want to take a backup of some sensitive information, you can do a replication. Okay, so this is on your replication. So there are two types. You can either create two buckets in the same region, that's called same region replication, SRR. CRR is cross region replication, having buckets in different regions. Okay, that is on your replication. So next we have on the life cycle. This is very important as we talked about, right? Life cycle. So using Amazon S3 life cycle configuration rules, you can reduce your storage cost by automatically moving data from one storage class to another storage class, and even automatically deleting the data after a certain period of time. So you always have a document retention policy in your company that, for example, if any document that is there in the company that needs to be there for certain number of days. For example, our income tax, right? So we all pay income tax, right? As per our Indian government, the document retention period for our any income tax documents are 7 years. So that means this is 2022. From now till go back till 7 years, you should have the document with you. So the income tax can come back anytime and ask for any document between now and the 7 years before. So 7 years is the document retention period for your income tax department as per Government of India. Okay, so like that we have document retention for each and everything, and each and every company has their own retention policy. And after that time, you can go and delete those documents. So you need not do manually. If you are using AWS, you can write S3 lifecycle management rules, and that will go and trigger. For example, a simple rule might be store the backup initially in the standard. Then after 30 days, move it to infrequently accessed. After 90 days, move it to Glacier. After 3 years, delete it. You can write the rule and automatically do all those things. Lifecycle configurations are attached to a bucket and can apply to all objects in the bucket or only to objects specified by prefix. You can say only delete the log objects, only delete the certain JPEGs, right? You can do all those things. So we will go ahead and see how to create that. We cannot demonstrate that. The reason for that is we have to wait 90 days, 180 days to show this, but we'll still just go and see how to do that, right? So this is the replica rules, the life cycle rule. So enter the name life cycle rule. Okay, again, limit the scope of this rule using one or more filters. You filter always move only for .log, start.logs, right? Or you want to filter for one specific thing, you can go and do it here, or you can go and apply to all objects. When you say apply to all objects, you have to make sure you acknowledge this. These are life cycle rules. Move current version of the objects between storage classes. Okay, between storage classes. By default is the standard, and you will not see the standard here. So after standard, move it to standard IA when after 30 days. After 30 days, then add another transition. Okay, and move the same document to one zone IA after 31 days. Right, add another transition and say move it to Glacier after 90 days. Right, after 90 days. Acknowledge this, because if you are moving a smaller objects, it will not be available for 90 days and stuff, so that's okay. Okay, this is one transition. See here, you can see, you can review your day 0 object is uploaded, day 30 it will move to IA, 31 it will move to this one, 90th day it will move to the Glacier stuff, right? This is one rule. Let's go to the other rules. Now move, this is the current version, move non-current versions. You can move the non-current versions, then expire current version. You can also expire a current version. Okay, so this is a non-current version, expire your current version, then delete all the objects that is created after 180 days, for example, right? After 180 days, go and remove these objects, and then you have permanently delete all non-current version. This is the expire the current version. Permanently delete non-current version. You want to go and delete some non-current version, go and delete it, and delete expired object, delete markers, and incomplete multi-part uploads. We talked about multi-part, right? So breaking down into chunks and uploading, there may be some incomplete uploads. Go and delete those also, right? And select all these things, come down and create a, you can go through this and you can create a rule like this. Once you create a rule, whenever you open this, you have to make sure you are having all this here, right? Say 34 days. Number of new versions to retain, keep 2 versions. keep last 2 versions, right? And permanently delete after number of days, say 365 days. Delete a number of new versions to retain, say 4 versions. So I'm just giving some random numbers, but based on the requirement, you need to go into see. See here, for this particular objects move to one zone IA, the integer value for one zone IA must be at least 30 or more. It cannot be less than that. So go on the top, one zone IA, it should be 30 or more. Must be at least 30 more than the 30 more than that. So it should be 61, right? And this should be like greater than this one. So let's make it 120. Okay. Since we have put everything in the same policy, create this rule. Once you create it and enable, automatically when you upload this object, whenever the date comes, automatically it will go and move those objects from one place to another place. Okay. We'll take last 5 minutes to complete this. Okay. Then we have something called storage gateway. So storage gateway is a separate service, but since we are talking about storage, I just include as part of our S3. So storage gateway is a service that connects your on-premise software appliances with cloud-based storage, so you can leverage your AWS into your normal on-prem environment as well. Okay, this service enables you to securely store data to AWS cloud for scalable and cost-effective storage. So this is how you have your data center, and you download a software and install it, and you can connect to the AWS. So storage gateways, software appliances available for download as virtual machine. So you need to download that and you need to install in your data center. Storage gateway supports VMware, Hyper-V. So these technologies are being used. So you can download and install them. Once you have installed your gateway, associate with your account through activation process. You need to call the AWS and they will activate the process. Once it is activated, then you will be able to seamlessly connect to your AWS from your on-prem server. So there are 3 types of storage gateways. One is file gateway, volume gateway, and tape gateway. File gateway is for the flat files stored directly in S3. In volume gateway, you have 2 types. One is stored volume, one is cached volume. When you use stored volume, the entire data set is stored on site and is asynchronously backed up in S3. So only you have a backup in S3. When you say cached volume, the entire data set is in S3 and most frequently accessed data will be cached on the on-site. Your application will be faster in on-site, right? So you can leverage both your on-prem as well as your S3. And you have a tape gateway. This is used for the backup. If you are using a normal tape backup, you can push it that to S3. So this actually integrates well with the popular backup tools like Net Backup, VM, Backup Execute, Exec, etc. Right? These are all some of the backup tools that we actually use in our industry now. Okay, so this is just a small piece of information for you to know. This may come up in the exam, this might not come up, but storage gateway is basically to, as a hybrid storage, you can leverage the AWS and your on-prem. Okay, vice versa. And very important, just remember this too: stored volumes and cached volumes. Difference between stored volume and cached volume. When we say stored, the entire is stored in on the on-site and the backup alone is there in S3. When we say cached, the entire stuff is stored on S3. Only the frequently accessed data is cached on the on-site. Okay, so this one particular volume gateway alone, you just need to make sure you are aware of this. Okay, with this we come to the end of our S3. Okay, please go through this. I will upload this video and this deck, and please make sure you clean up your resources, otherwise it will simply get charged. So I think by this time this should be done. So right now morning everything is faster, and you see only 2% faster, 6% faster, something you get more, 19%, 40%. Oregon is the topmost with 40%, I believe. Yeah, let's take Mumbai is just only 3% faster. So that means there's no much difference between direct upload and accelerated transfer. Okay, so let's go to the management console here and try to clean up our activities for today, so we don't get charged. So the first thing is this one, always empty your bucket before you delete it, right? While you are doing an empty, you need to copy this or type permanently delete. Only then your empty will get enabled. Empty everything at one, then go ahead and delete it. So next class we'll be starting on VPC, the networking part. So a lot of networking things that we need to do. Go and delete it. Use the bucket name to delete these things. Always try to keep your account tidy so we don't get charged. Okay, all the buckets are deleted, so we don't have any bucket. If you see this page and go here and see, all the bucket should be gone. Okay, so this is how you have to clean up your. Any questions, guys? You guys have? And as I requested, did you guys download all those videos and stuff? Because I'm really running out of space. I will not be able to upload new videos if you don't download the old ones.
Yeah, Chandra, we have downloaded.
Yeah, Chandra,
Just
Yeah,
check with
so,
download also.
yeah. So what you need to do, as I told you yesterday, right click and do a download, will entirely zip and then send it out. Okay, so just to let me know. Based on that, I'll have to upload the today's video. There is no problem in having this PPT and other text and all. Only problem is with this MP4 because that is a huge one, right? Okay. Any other questions that you guys have before we close
So,
it?
Chandra, you have created some keys also, no? That also required to be deleted.
Which one? Yeah, keys we
I
have
think,
already. No, keys we have already enabled the deletion, right? That will happen. That will
yeah.
delete automatically after 7 days.
Okay.
Okay, the KMS key we have just set up that key deletion schedule.
Custom keys. Yeah.
Yeah, custom keys. You don't have to delete. You cannot delete the managed keys.
Okay.
Okay, so you will only delete the custom key. Okay, fine. Anything else from anyone? Please try out some of these policies, right, and see what you can do. Right, in that way, like it will be helpful for you when you go to your organization and start working. They might ask you to restrict, right? Say if somebody is trying to access from this IP 45678, they should not be able to access this bucket. Then you need to know how to write those policies. Okay, all right. I'll upload this PPT, and once this video is available, I'll upload and ping you guys. And after I ping you, please download the entire stuff and please provide your confirmation. Then I will go ahead and delete my the older videos. Okay. Okay. All right. Anything else, guys, before we wind it up? Okay. We will start off next week with VPC. It's a networking component. So that will be very interesting and a little bit of challenging to understand as well. I'll try my best to make sure that you can get that right. So I'll try to explain you in such a way that you will be able to understand some of the basics of networking as well. Okay, fine. Yeah, thanks guys. Thank you all, and have a great week, and we will kind of meet next week. Okay.
Hey Chandra,
Thank
can
you.
you give me 2 minutes of your time? I mean,
Yeah,
rest
yeah,
can leave.
yeah,
I just have a few questions to ask.
yeah. Please go ahead, go ahead. Yeah. Others, if
Okay,
you want, you can stay or you can leave. Yeah.
right. So Chandra, I have a AWS setup at my end. I have API gateway Lambda, and then Lambda is talking to S3 bucket.
Okay.
Okay. I need to enable course for my object or for my site, the static website
For
which we
your
have
for
hosted
your
in.
S3, yeah, for your S3,
Yes.
you need to enable course. Okay.
Not for S3, for my site, which is hosted in S3, but
Yeah,
is
yeah. That's what.
accessible only via
That's
Lambda.
what. That's what.
Yeah.
Even though you do that, but still your pages are stored in your S3, correct?
Yes. Yes.
So you have to enable their course on the S3. So course is your cross-origin resource sharing. To enable course, you need to.
No, I did that, but
Hmm.
I'm looking for a way to handle it through Lambda instead of hard coding the course permission at S3 bucket level.
Mhm.
So it's why is it because tomorrow the number of sites might change. So I mean
No,
Lambda
that's what
is
I'm saying. What you
yeah.
need to do, you don't specify your site name in the course. Okay, just give
Okay.
star. Just give a
Okay.
star. Don't
Mm-hmm.
specify, for example, if you have example.com, don't say example.com.
Mm-hmm.
Just put it star. So you add another 25 sites also, it will take.
Okay, so
Okay.
what I was asking is, let's say I'm doing it via Lambda. So let's say my Lambda is actually my Lambda is reading the S3 bucket and then it is returning the object. So what if I channel it through Lambda, like whatever is allowed site in a particular file which I have, only those should be allowed to access the files. Otherwise, it will not. So that way,
No,
I'm
even
preventing
though
star also.
no, even though you um, kind of read the objects from S3, the course you
Right.
should set up there only. You cannot set it up here. If you want to set it up, you have to programmatically write the JSON uh, thing there with the conditions.
Yes, yes. So we are routing it via Lambda. That's what I said.
Yeah,
So
we are
any
only routing it,
object,
right? So we are only
yeah,
routing it. We are not doing anything. Yeah.
I'm having some code also, logic also, which is before routing and before sending the response, it is taking care of some things. So basically,
Okay.
Lambda is my bridge between my S3 bucket. So no user is
Right. Right.
allowed to go directly to S3 bucket. So
Right.
if
Right.
I
Right.
do this course configuration at Lambda, will it be off? I mean, because my S3 bucket doesn't know whether a user is hitting it directly or not because it is coming via Lambda, right? So for my
Hey,
S3,
no
it
user
is
can. Yeah,
Lambda which
no
is
user
taking care.
can. Yeah, no user can directly access your S3. They will only
Correct.
come to the
So
gateway. That's all.
right. So if I do it at Lambda level, how will I do it? Do you have any code or Lambda function which you can help me? Because I
Yeah, I
tried
can
searching
check on
online,
that.
no one
Yeah.
has done this.
Yeah. I think that nobody will do because normally it is done on the um, I want to say it is done on the S3 bucket
Mhm.
side only with not specifying any specific site because what to say your S3 bucket is private, right? It's not public. So
Right.
so what they do, they just put a star there.
Okay. Okay.
That's a common use case everybody has, and that is what they do. They never do this in the um, Lambda.
But
That's
that
that's
actually
that's
enables security threats. That's why I don't want to do
why
it at S3
why it
level.
is why it is. How do you think it is enabling security threat? Are you
See,
making that public?
right now, we are hosting certain React applications in S3 bucket. Tomorrow they
Okay,
can iframe it onto their site also, and because we have enabled star at S3 level, it will allow any site to pull content from S3 bucket and embed in their own site. Using iframe or using some other
then you can do one thing, right? Then you can try
Yeah.
one more thing. See, you set this course in the S3, that is fine. But what you will do, you will write all this XML, right? That XML that you pass, right? Write it in the Lambda functions. So create that XML and pass the value for allowed origin.
Okay. Okay.
Instead of saying star, say today you want to allow A. Then dynamically you allow A.
From Lambda, right? That's what you are
From
trying to
Lambda,
say.
yes, yes, yes. From
And but
Lambda,
still
you
I'll have
build
to
that.
configure. Yeah, but still I'll have to configure S3 with course permission of star, correct?
Yes, yes. And then from Lambda, you overwrite that.
Okay, okay, okay.
You overwrite that
Got it.
dynamically. Dynamically, every time your user do that, you will
Request.
have to pass this and then you have to set it there. That is the only way to do. From S3,
And
from Lambda function, you cannot filter.
got it. Got it.
Because
So
your final, see, even though Lambda is just staying in between, your final content is being served from S3 only.
yes, yeah.
So that is where you need to enable the course. But since for just for reading purpose, we will put star. But if you really wanted to specify one particular site to only to be allowed, only that origin to be allowed, or multiple origins with comma you need to allow, then you
Right.
do dynamically you pass that here and see how you can change that allowed origin tag to the your dynamic one.
And how to handle the pre-flight calls? Can we write a handler
Yeah,
in
you can. You have to
Lambda?
write a handler. You write a function. You write a
Okay.
function, and then you set up and you know the ARN of your bucket, right? And set up the
Right.
policy for course policy for that ARN. That's all.
Okay. Okay. Fine.
So what you need to do, first thing,
Uh-huh.
you need to write a function in Lambda. Okay, write a function in Lambda which will read the S3. Already it's reading the S3 bucket object, right?
Correct.
So you can
Yeah.
easily get the ARN.
Right.
Then try to form a XML file in that function. Try to put all the values except that allowed origin. Put everything as it is, right? Like say
Okay.
allowed method, maximum age, and all those things you put that there. And then what you
Okay.
need to say, you need to only for the allowed origin, you won't define. If the user is coming from here or here, you have the allowed origin as google.com. Otherwise, it should be yahoo.com. Put that, and then finally you have to in that function you need to set that to that particular S3 bucket.
Okay.
So
Okay.
before you read that object, you need to set that there, then read the object and pass it out.
Okay.
So
Okay. So
dynamically you are setting the course to your bucket. That's all.
okay. Okay. Can you help me with any video or any code to handle pre-flight call as well as to do this
I
kind of
am
stuff?
not sure. We need to check on that. I haven't done this or I haven't come across this. I'm just throwing some ideas here. So what I want
Okay.
you to do, you already have a function which reads the object, right?
Right.
Now do one thing. See if you can set up the course. Just take all the values from there, hard code it, and see if you can set it up during in the Lambda itself. Whether you can set the course rule in the Lambda itself for those bucket. Whether it is getting set or not. Number one. If it is getting
Okay.
set, then make that star to whatever name you want.
Okay. Understood what you are trying to say.
So
Fine.
that way you can dynamically do that. After you do that in your handler itself, then try to write a small function which will do that instead of doing in the
Yeah.
handler. And
Got it.
call the
Okay.
function. Call the function.
Understood. Okay. I will try
Okay.
that. So
Yeah.
if that is the case, I don't have to like course at API gateway, right? My Lambda and S3 will handle it.
Yes, the Lambda S3 will handle.
Okay. Fine.
Okay.
Thanks,
So it can be
Thanks.
it can be like, see, you can do it any level. You can do it in any level that you want. If you want to do it at the API gateway level, when you are passing the response back to the customer, right, you have option to customize it. There also you can go and set that course. Or you can say it's better to set it always in the S3 bucket. So that what will happen, dynamically if you set it from the Lambda to the S3 bucket, when the S3 bucket pages go out, it will only allow the origin google.com, for example.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, but normally people what they do, they just do a star. They don't do all this dynamically stuff here, right? The problem here is the people you are here today somebody else is taking over tomorrow to do this, they will not know what has been done there. So
Understood.
you need to make sure the proper documentations are given for this. So whoever is doing, any junior is coming back and taking over, or you are moving out to a different project, then they should be able to kind of figure out this.
Understood.
Right?
Okay. Thank you,
Otherwise it
Chandra.
becomes difficult. Okay. Yeah.
I
Okay.
will try that. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Yeah. Thanks,
Yeah,
all.
bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye.